So Jake Tapper is out there promoting his new book, Original Sin, which is about Joe Biden's cognitive decline and the media cover-up. Now, the book is overrated for what it is, and I'll talk about that later in the video, but you would think that Tapper would spend most of his time talking about Joe Biden's family, as well as the Democrat Party's complicity in this deceit. But when Jake Tapper went on Mediaite, he somehow figured out a way to make this all about President Trump. Take a look.
Transparency by leaders when it comes to their health. And I would argue that some of the skepticism we've heard from Democrats, Republicans, and doctors, I have no idea what's true, what's not true. All I can say is like that lack of confidence in the transparency that's being offered didn't come out of nowhere. And three, like this, or C, I'm really bad at that. And C, this applies to Donald Trump too, and every future president. Donald Trump has released like nothing about his health.
Right.
And while there aren't the questions of acuity, there are certainly questions about his health.
Yeah.
And we can't have this as a country. We have such a powerful executive branch, and at this stage, such an unco-equal legislative branch, and such weak political parties. We're really racing towards a very dangerous situation. What if there had been that 2 a.m. phone call for Joe Biden?
I think readers' office can sometimes make this mistake, or audiences can sometimes make the mistake of assuming that reporting has the intention to advance a certain political project. And that's not the point of reporting. The point of reporting is to expose the truth and, tell history for posterity.
So let me get this straight. The media participated in this cover-up. They totally ignored stories of Joe Biden's decline. They pretended it wasn't happening. And whenever it was happening in front of our eyes, they gave us the most lame excuses that even a fifth grader, a 5-year-old, or honestly, anyone with 2 or more brain cells could see through. And then when Joe Biden was exposed once and for all at that infamous debate, the media, they didn't change gears. They stayed in the exact same gear, covering up for Kamala Harris. They refused to ask her any tough questions. They were all softballs. They let her get away with limited interviews, appearances, town halls. And when she lost, now the media wants to cash in on all of this. They want to tell us the inside story of how they missed the biggest political story of the last few decades. And now, as they're reflecting and learning their lessons, they want to use all of this against President Trump. It is such a joke. And unfortunately, CNN, which is where Jake Tapper works, of course, is already taking their cue. Take a look at this headline, published just yesterday: the curious case of Trump's disappearing media transcripts. Now, when you take a look at that title, it's as if the Trump administration is involved in some cover-up, right? But when you actually take the time to read the article, you see that instead of using transcripts, they're actually posting links to YouTube videos and embedding videos so people can see Trump in real time. They don't have to read the transcripts. They can listen to him in his own words. That's not hiding President Trump like the media tried to hide Joe Biden. It's completely different. But unfortunately, as much as we like to pretend that the mainstream media is totally irrelevant, they're not. Yes, they are diminished, but a lot of people still take their cues from them. The media tends to echo each other. USA Today just wrote, Trump's own words show us he isn't all there. So the biggest political bombshell this week was Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis, right? Or at least the revelation of it. Well, the media, you would think that they would be focused on that story. How is it possible that we're just now finding out about this? How is it possible that the former president just found out, right? Isn't he supposed to have the best healthcare in the world? Well, somehow the media has figured out a way to make that story all about President Trump's supposed cognitive decline. Yeah, over on the Drudge Report, which I know a lot of people don't check out anymore, but they still get millions and billions of hits each day, each month. They're calling it Donald Trump's Dementia Watch, all just because he misspoke one word. Take a look at this on CNN.
President Trump reacting to President Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis, suggesting that it was not just recently discovered. This is what he told me when I asked him about his predecessor in the Oval Office today. Do you want to respond to President Biden being diagnosed with cancer? Are you going to call your predecessor?
I think it's very sad, actually. I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time. I just had my physical. You saw that. You saw the results of that particular test. I think that test is standard to pretty much anybody getting a physical. I think people should try and find out what happened, because I'll tell you, I don't know if it had anything to do with the hospital. Walter Reed is really good. They're some of the best doctors I've ever seen. I don't even know if they were involved, but a doctor was involved in each case. Maybe it was the same doctor, and somebody is not telling the facts. That's a big problem.
Now, I should note there is no stage 9 for cancer. There is the Gleason score, which is a scale used to measure prostate cancers for their aggressiveness on a scale of 6 to 10. President Biden's cancer is at a Gleason score of 9, according to the statement his office put out yesterday. And that means his diagnosis.
So obviously, when President Trump was talking about stage 9 cancer, he was referring to that Gleason score, that Gleason level. It was an obvious misspeak. And I think most people would easily make that sort of mistake, right? And had anyone in that room, had Caitlin Collins herself confronted President Trump, oh, don't you mean Gleason score 9? He would have said yes, right? But if you had done that to Joe Biden, let's say the shoe was on the other foot and Joe Biden misspoke, he would have been confused. Oh, what the hell are you talking about? Like, he would rant like an angry old man, right? But in addition to grasping at straws to bash President Trump's mental acuity, they're also calling him a conspiracy theorist. You sort of heard it there. Oh, President Trump is claiming without any evidence that there was a cover-up with Joe Biden's cancer. Which, it's really ironic that they're mad at him for asking those questions when the media is just now discovering the cover-up in Joe Biden's decline. It's a joke, and there are a lot of questions to ask, not just against that backdrop, but when Joe Biden in 2015 actually joked about faking getting prostate cancer. I mean, that just hits a little too close to home, right?
And so he said, well, what do you want? I said, two things. One, to be able to completely be level with you and argue with you if we disagree privately. And secondly, I want to be the last person in the room on every major decision. And I didn't mean it figuratively, I meant literally, to be the last person in the room. He's president. He gets to make the decision, and unless there's an overwhelming disagreement on principle, in which case I develop prostate cancer or something and leave. And he knew I meant that for a major fundamental disagreement. But there have been none. And I get to be the last person in the room, make my case to him privately. And that's where I think I could serve best.
Now, obviously, that video is not proof that Joe Biden had cancer as early as 2015, but based on all the doctors, look, I made a previous video, right, of physicians on CNN, MSNBC, News Nation, just different outlets of different political stripes, and including specialists saying that Joe Biden likely had cancer before he even ran for president in 2020. So 2021, 2020, 2019, 2015 is not that far before that. So again, not evidence, but it is interesting he made that specific joke. So when there are questions already out there about when was he diagnosed? When did he know? When did this cover up begin? Is it a similar cover up to his cognitive decline? I think those are all very fair things to ask. Well, this is Memorial Day weekend, and it feels wrong saying Happy Memorial Day because obviously it's a day to remember everyone. So I'm not sure the best way to say it, but I hope you know what I mean when I say I hope everyone has a happy Memorial Day weekend. And I hope you find a moment to remember and honor those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. But unfortunately, Hillary Clinton wants to completely politicize this holiday weekend. This is what she posted online. I'm giving you a mission for this Memorial Day holiday weekend. And using the word mission in this context is just really gross. I want you to talk to two people, friends, neighbors, cookout attendees, about why Trump's proposed budget would be a disaster for American kids. We owe the next generation every chance, and this isn't it. I mean, basically, she's encouraging her followers, her fans, whatever you want to call them, to argue with people, get in their faces on Memorial Day, instead of remembering those who have sacrificed so much, given the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. As someone who ran not once, but twice to be the next commander-in-chief, you would think that Hillary Clinton would know better. So this weekend, the Naval Academy had their graduation, and Vice President J.D. Vance was there, and he shook the hand of every single graduate walking across that stage.
Farrier the Fourth.
I just love this because it shows how committed this administration is to the next generation of servicemen and servicewomen. Like on the campaign trail, the vice presidential candidate is usually the attack dog, right? And President Trump hasn't really given Vance duties the same way that Joe Biden named Kamala Harris borders are. So Vance is really out there promoting Trump's agenda, whipping up support on Capitol Hill, doing some diplomatic business overseas. But then he's also providing a presence, being a representative for the administration in these important moments. So it really says a lot that the administration, yes, they're trying to get a lot done in D.C., but they're also sending the second highest person in the executive branch to support these new graduates. So I think that this was awesome. And he wasn't just there showing face. He actually took the time, made the effort to shake every single person's hand. I think that shows it's more than just words and political speak. They actually care. They actually are thankful for everyone who's there. So I gotta love that. In today's video, I would like to thank Jenny Rankin, Houston CME Girl, Kevin Combe, and Jenda Minoru as the members of today's Governor's Club. These are people who have given tips or super thanks to the channel. Thank you so much, and I'm glad that you enjoy the videos. So David Hogg is obviously going through his own turmoil at the DNC. They took the first vote, potentially, to oust him from his role. Now, their vote on that officially as the DNC will be later in the year. But anyways, he's behaving as if nothing's going on, as if he will hold on to that vice DNC chair. And he went on the Breakfast Club to say who he thinks the next face of the Democrat Party should be. And guess what? It's not AOC.
Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett, I love her. She is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that people want to see somebody who fights and calls out the bullshit, ultimately. I think that's what Jasmine does, and we need a hell of a lot more people that are out there that are willing to do just that and call people out on their BS and not say, oh my God, Republicans are going to criticize me for saying this. Screw that. They're going to criticize you no matter what. So what we should be asking ourselves is, what are we really fighting for? Because we know it matters, and I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support in some senses, right? Somebody who is out there that frankly doesn't give a damn what the other side, at least the elected Republicans in Congress say what they believe in. And at least, even if you don't agree with her, you know what she stands for.
Yeah.
Because she makes it very clear. And people are really craving that right now. They don't want more politicians that say talking points that it doesn't even feel like they believe, or you don't even really know what they mean. They want somebody who's out there that says what they believe and doesn't care what somebody else thinks about it. They want that authenticity.
Hey, look, I don't want to count our chicks before they hatch, but based on how things are going right now, I feel really good about 2026, 2028. And if the Democrats double down on dumb, if they want to make Jasmine Crockett the face of the DNC, then I'm really feeling good about our future. Last but not least, to return to the original topic of the video, Jake Tapper, he has been going to different podcasts, TV shows, hawking his book, trying to get sales, and quite frankly, trying to profit off of playing dumb. I just found out, Joe Biden. How could anyone know? Obviously, like I said earlier, anyone with 2 or more brain cells could know, and that's exactly what Megyn Kelly brought up to Jake Tapper's face. She called him out in person. I love this, and I think you're going to love it too.
Over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down. It was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book, we knew and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through a 1-minute take. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now, the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none. But you did. There was an attempted cover-up. It could only ever work if you allowed it, if the press allowed it. Some of us tried not to, and some of us were complicit.
The Biden White House did not like me. Okay, I do not have great connections with the Biden White House.
Well, clearly you have a lot of sources. You say you talked to over 200 sources for this book. So you have some election, you could have called and worked.
No, that's the point, is that they were not being honest. That's
well,
the
how
point.
did the Wall Street Journal get it in June of 2024? And Jake Tapper and CNN couldn't find sources for this story then before he dropped out?
Annie Linsky and Siobhan Hughes did an amazing job in their reporting. And they should be heralded, and I heralded them. I had them on my show right after the debate to talk about their great reporting. But Annie Linsky,
after the debate, but you did not put them on when they published that story, which was before the debate.
Correct. I don't know what the booking situation was, but it wasn't because I didn't want them. I'm sure I said that day, let's book. I'm sure I said that day, let's book that. Did they? Yeah, you
put on a Democrat, and you allowed the Democrat to rip on the report as a Rupert Murdoch sponsored hit piece.
No.
It's just
Megyn,
Well, that's
Megyn,
what happened. Go ahead.
If we're going to do this, let's just stick to the facts here, okay? When there is a damaging
Jake,
report,
that's what I've been doing all along.
I'm
One
talking
of
about
us
what you just said.
didn't miss the biggest story of the century when it comes to presidential politics, and one of us did.
Oh, his face right there, you know he is so ticked off because he's actually being called out. He's not used to that at all. Now, I would take things a step further if I had a chance to talk with Jake Tapper, Caitlin Collins, or any other one of these prostitutes, because not only is it wrong that they covered up for Joe Biden, but it's even more disgusting that now they're using that excuse. Oh, there was a cover up and we're just finding out. Now they're using that to criticize and wrongly question President Trump. It's not that you can't question President Trump, but they're just grasping at straws here. Oh, there was a cover-up with Joe Biden. There must be a cover-up with Donald Trump because he misspoke the Gleason score and confused that with the stages of cancer. Again, misspeaks happen. It's not as if President Trump gets lost on stage or has to rely on note cards or loses his train of thought in the middle of a sentence or in the middle of a word. It's just not comparable at all, yet the media wants to play conspiracy theorist. Now, Jake Tapper's book, I may or may not do a review on it in the future. To be honest, it's a little disappointing. It's okay. The media is heralding it as some great work of art. I think the narrative is lacking. I've read a lot of books already about the 2024 election, and this is one of the least engaging ones, just as far as how the narrative is written. And as far as the facts, look, you do get a lot of inside facts that haven't been shared before about the jump cuts or how the studio was set up or his makeup. But a lot of it is really just explaining what we all saw in public. So it's sort of like, oh, we already knew that, we're just seeing it from a different angle. So honestly, I'm not as impressed by this book as I am by other books. I'm only about 60% of the way through, so maybe something will change in the later half, but we'll see. As always, though, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, David Hogg is obviously promoting Jasmine Crockett to be the next face of the DNC, but who would you like to be the next face of the DNC? From the perspective of, as a constitutionally minded conservative, Republican, MAGA, who would you like to run against? Who would you like to define the Democrat Party in 2026, 2028 to give us the best chance of preserving the country and moving us forward? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.